Alrighty. Hello. Hi, how are you? I'm your host, Grim, or you can call me Jay. In the meantime, what we're going to do is we're going to find some things, something that horrifies us. Let's try to find something. We get some of our stories from r/slash no sleep, stay awake, all those mediums. Now, we're going to pretend that it's a rainy night, and as your host, I'm going to try to do everything within my power to make you feel at ease, comfortable, and horrified. So, without further ado, you may want to go get something to eat, drink, or whatever just suits your fancy. Mm, We're now trying to find a story. Because it is hard to find a story that would horrify me, chill me, put me at my absolute core of just helplessness or whatever. Something that actually scares me. Alright then. But to really set things into an ambient light, let's take out the said lights. Okay, I hate whenever it does that right there. So, uh, under the back porch is the name of this tale. As a kid, I lived with neglectful parents at best. At worst, Dad would turn his screams and fists on me, but I learned quickly how to dodge the worst of it. Mom wasn't much help. She would just smoke in the kitchen and bitch at him for being out so late. At the time, we lived basically in the middle of nowhere. Our nearest neighbors were a long walk for a 6-year-old, and we had trees between us. No one to run to for help, and I was pretty small for a kid my age. I learned I could pretty much fit anywhere. The closet, dryer. I think even once I tucked myself under my futon in such a way I could get some air but no one could see me. I was pretty much a master at hiding, but it wasn't for a good reason. One night, though, I thought that I could do something different. I could hear it in Dad's yells. He was pissed and was about to get violent. Mom was not helping either, just piling fuel into the inferno of that flame. So I knew I had to find a good hiding spot. I got the idea a few days before when I realized the lattice covering the bottom half of the back porch had a hole in it. Not big enough to fit a grown man, but most likely able to fit a skinny 16-year-old. So wrapping myself up in my blanket and grabbing my hippo stuffy, I snuck out into the window and ran into the backyard in the middle of the autumn night. It was 40 degrees outside and the temperature just kept dropping. So I crawled underneath the porch. I scraped my elbows and I kept getting splinters on my palms whenever I fit inside, but I still managed to get in. It was actually pretty spacious compared to most of my other hiding spots. I couldn't sit up all the way, but I had plenty of room to stretch out my limbs. Of course, I was also getting covered in dirt. It rained a few days ago, so the mud was still a little wet. I wrapped myself up in a blanket the best I could and I settled in for the night. But soon, even with my blanket and my hippo, my teeth were chattering so hard I could hardly breathe. I didn't want to get back inside, knowing if Dad caught me it would be the whipping of my life. So I had to tough it out. Honey, are you cold? That was not the voice of my mother. It was scratchy from all the smoking and screeching she did. It was sweet like honey, though. I turned over to see the dim outline of a woman lying on her stomach next to me. She had a pretty butterfly necklace and was just as dirty as I was. I nodded, not wondering how she was able to get down there without me noticing. The woman belly crawled forward and wrapped her arms around me, and suddenly I became extremely warm. That felt so comfortable. It felt like I was sitting next to a campfire. I snuggled into her arms, not minding the mud. After all, we were both dirty. You've gotten so big, the woman said, examining my face. How old are you now, Alex? I'm 6. How the hell did I know this woman again? I didn't think I did. 6, she said. You're all grown up then. I'm so happy. She sighed pleasantly and stroked my hair. I felt so cozy, but this was the coziest I ever felt in my life. What's your name? I asked. She smiled and said, My name is Lily. What's your favorite thing to do? I had to think for a second. I like board games and coloring. Lily chuckled, just like me then. Could never get enough of Scrabble, but I guess you're still too young to play that, huh? I nodded, and I said, Yeah, it has a lot of words in it. I want to play it, though. I like the tiles. Would you play it with me? I heard Lily sharply inhale. I don't think I can. Your daddy put me under here, and I can't leave. But... She thought for a second and held it like that, and said, Alex, could you do me a favor? I said, of course. This lady was oh so nice. Why wouldn't I do her a favor? What she asked next was a little bit weird. She said, when you wake up in the morning, go to the police station. Ask for an officer by the name of Lowell Joyce. Tell him where to find Lily, okay? Under your back porch. He'll come and get me, okay? And then maybe we can play Scramble. I got so excited I yelled yippee. Just playing Scrabble with Lily was just, it made me extremely vigorous and everything. I said, I'll do it. We can be on the same team, right? Lily softly laughed. I hope you'll understand the rules. Good night, Alex. When I woke up the next morning, I heard Lily's voice. Go now, your dad's gone to work. I'll tell you how to get to the station. Rubbing my eyes, I crawled out from under the porch and went into the house to grab my shoes and a coat. I shivered in the frosty cold, but I thought Lily was right behind me. After my shoes and coat were on, I started walking. Hopefully this child took a shower. It was long enough to get to the neighbor's house. I really can't remember how long it took to get to the police station, although I have no idea why no one pulled over to see why a 6-year-old in dirty pajamas was walking alongside the road. And Lily kept guiding me the entire time. Wait, okay. Across the street, now. Turn right here. Keep going. You almost made it, Lily said, exclaiming. I nearly collapsed with exhaustion by the time I walked to the station. The guys out front were chatting and having a good time and didn't see me until I almost made it to the front desk. Whoa, kid, are you okay? One of the officers knelt down to my level, eyes wide. I nodded. I'm okay. Can I speak to Lowell Joyce? I asked. One of the other officers picked me up. Sure, kid, sure. Let's just get you somewhere. Holy shit, your lips are blue. I remember quietly scolding the man about watching his language. Shit was a bad word. That's basically what I said at that time. I was given some warm cocoa and wrapped up in a blanket by the time an old man with a graying mustache sat next to me. Hey kid, I'm Sheriff Joyce. What's your name? He said. I'm Alex. I set down my cup and looked him straight in the eye and said, I was told to you that Lily is under the back porch. You need to let her out so we can play Scrabble. I had never seen a grown man turn pale. Lots of things blurred together at this point. I remember being taken back to my house and there were a lot of police cars and people around. The back porch was surrounded by yellow tape, and someone was taking a black bag away while my dad was in handcuffs. After that, I lived with my grandparents, Sheriff Joyce and his wife. I tried to ask about what happened and who was Lily, but I always got shut down. I was too young to know. But life got better, a lot better. Grandpa was the best man I could have ever hoped for in my life. On the weekends, we went out to the movies where he would let me have a giant soda even though I'd have to pee in the middle of the movie. When I asked if I could drink when I was 13, he let me try a beer. I spat it out and didn't touch it again. He never judged me for anything, especially my love of art. He let me paint in my own bedroom multiple times over the years, and I felt safe around him. He never laid a hand on me. Grandma was amazing too. Over the week, she would homeschool me while teaching me things that you wouldn't learn at school, such as how to respect others but not taking their crap, cooking, and lots of cooking. By the time I was 12 years old, I made my own birthday cake, but I usually just made them for friends. I got a lot of those after I was free from my dad. A lot of friends. When I turned 16, Grandpa took me back over to Dad's house. The entire house was bulldozed, and I could still see the yellow tape wound just hung out all around the trees, faded and torn. We sat together on the back of his truck. He opened the beer and drank half of it before setting it down and grabbing me an orange soda. After he drank it, he told me something that chilled me down to my core. Lily was your mother. Good thing he didn't tell me as I was swallowing. I likely would have had it coming out my nose. My mom? I said. I questioned, and it was confused, distraught, and just broken. He said, your actual mom. The woman who lived with your dad was not your mother. My granddad grabbed another beer. Lily was my daughter. I loved her so much. When you were around 6 months old, she vanished. My stomach dropped, and my dad just imprisoned her underneath the porch, and I felt sicker and sick. Grandpa took a deep breath before setting his unopened beer down. That's something I never was able to understand. Lily told you to find me, and that she loved Scrabble? Oh, so it turns out that the sheriff was actually his granddad. Yeah, she kept me warm that night. I probably would have froze to death if she hadn't been there. I was a stupid kid, and even at that time I knew that. Grandpa was dead quiet before opening that beer and slammed the entire thing. Alex. Lily had been dead the entire time she was gone. When we dug up her bones, experts confirmed what had happened, and your dad confessed to what happened. They got into a fight. He threw her down the stairs, and she broke her neck. He said while he clenched his fists. I knew he had something to do with her disappearance, but I never had any proof until you walked into my station, covered in dirt, and told me she was underneath the porch. I couldn't even breathe. I felt floored, and just all I could do was shake my head. And I said to him, but I saw her. She was alive. She had this butterfly necklace. I trailed off when Grandpa pulled an evidence baggie from his pocket. There was that butterfly necklace, all right, rusty, and parts of the paint had been chipped off, but I remembered it as clearly as I remembered Lily's voice. Grandpa took a shooky breath and just said, Lily loved you so much. Why she stuck around, that bastard? You were her entire world, and she was constantly taking pictures and sending them to us in the mail. Sometimes a mother's love can accomplish things that no human should be able to do. My eyes overflew with tears, and I just kept choking on sobs, and I leaned on Grandpa. He held me tight, and I swear I felt a few of his tears land on the top of my head. For just a brief moment, I felt that warm love I felt underneath that porch. Guys, my eyes are sweating. Essentially, the kid had saw the ghost of his mother, and she basically guided him to reenacting some much needed justice against, well, his very abusive and tantalizing dad, who had it coming, you know. But to do all those things to your child and then disposing of their mother in such a very fucked up way, if you tell me, is just... It's a story that, honestly, has happened before. And I know that has happened before. Man, that was hard. That was a good story to cap us off for the night. I don't know what else to say to that except for just damn. Damn. Let's try to find the next story. Man. Man, oh man. God damn it. Sorry about that. I always hate whenever my computer likes to act up. Well, the next one is something that, here's a warning thing, especially dealing with kids. I'm a SWAT officer who was called to deal with an incident at a middle school. But for some reason, we can't enter room 203. I've seen a lot of really disturbing stuff throughout my life, but nothing from my past experiences could have stopped my hands from shaking so hard right now. I don't know what the hell is going on at the school, especially in that godforsaken room. I was never the type of guy who got excited for assignments, whether it be hostages, bomb threats, shooters. The adrenaline rush only lasts for so long after all. The fear kicks in quickly afterwards. Only got one life, you know? The worst cases are always the ones that involve children. I have a niece who's innocent and carefree beyond comprehension, and I wanted it to stay that way. But my skin crawls whenever she would be exposed to these type of situations. Safe to say I wasn't looking forward to whatever task laid ahead of us when we were called in, especially to this middle school. When we arrived, there were already 6 to 7 police cars parked outside, with a massive crowd of evacuated students just standing outside. A lot of them looked utterly shocked and terrified, like they'd just been chased through the cemetery by a machete-wielding demon. As we entered the building, we were caught up to date by one of the police officers, but he was hardly any help. We don't know what to do. They're in room 203, but we can't go in there. Can't go in there. What do you mean? Dex, our unit leader, asked him. He stumbled out an almost incoherent response. His skin paled and eyes widened as he did so. From his expression, you'd assume that he'd been to hell or something in a comparable nature. We were not taking this lightly whatsoever. We tried getting more information out of him, but he was adamant that he didn't do anything beyond the fact that we couldn't go in that room under any circumstances. We'll figure it out, Dix ended up saying to him, realizing that trying to convene with the guy was getting nowhere. The officer simply nodded his head in response, but not confidently. We traversed the school and went up to the second floor, super duper alert. Within that silence, the place was extremely eerie. Not that I ever liked school, regardless. Once we ascended the stairwell, room 203 was just to our right. It wasn't really what we expected. No blood, no signs of a struggle, just a room. However, it was not silent in there. We approached the door cautiously, listening intently to what was going on. It sounded like a teacher giving a standard lecture, but obviously that wouldn't have warranted a school-wide evacuation and subsequent police backup. Jensen, another officer, tapped me on my shoulder, pointing to the crack in the door. I didn't see it at first, but something that just shook me. A small stream of blood began oozing from underneath. Shit, I thought to myself. Even though I was expecting something like this sooner or later, it was still jarring to see. I wanted to bust down the door right then and there, unleashing a flurry of lead into the perpetrator's skull, but that would have been extremely impulsive. He might have had hostages or wired the door to explode, something crazy of that nature. The police officer's words also stuck into my brain. Sure, he seemed like a maniac, but people don't become that way through arbitrary means. He definitely seen something lurking bad behind that door, and I was not eager to find out. Still, we had to figure out a plan. I tried listening closer, in an attempt to discern what the person was saying. Now, I wasn't sure if they were speaking too quietly or if they were using another language entirely, but I couldn't make out anything explicit. But the more I listened, the more obscured our tone and speech patterns became. It wasn't like anybody was giving a lecture. It was something akin to reciting a series of separate and unrelated things in succession. Eventually, Dex stepped up, banging on the door. What's your purpose? You got any demands? At the moment, we're willing to cooperate, but we can't do that if you can't communicate with us. No response. We tried negotiating for 10 more minutes, but the speaker paid no attention, simply continuing their obscure diatribe to the audience of presumably captive and horrified students. Fuck it, Dex said, frustrated. Hate dealing with crazy fucks. He pulled out a radio and began talking to another unit. Soon enough, 2 more teams were on the way, one to monitor the windows from outside, and one to take position in the room directly under 203. We were trying to consider every possible angle here. About 15 minutes, the outside team showed up. Of course, there was nothing more to report on, given that the windows were simply boarded up from the inside. Still, multiple snipers took vantage points. There were more or less in cases where things went absolutely belly up. This is some bullshit, Axwell said. If they end up never telling us anything, are we just going to wait here forever? The kids might die of natural causes instead. I wasn't going to be the one to say it, but I was sure thinking it. There's no easy solutions for this. Another 5 minutes before the ground team showed up, announcing to us on the radio that they're making their way to the room underneath. The radio crackled once again. Hey, Dex. Dex picked it up and said, Yeah? Something wrong? I don't think we should go inside. What the fuck? What the fuck are you talking about? He was cut short by rather something jarring. Not a noise, but more so the absence of noise. Whoever was inside that room stopped talking. Dex put down the radio, ready to negotiate once again. You finish? Can we talk now? Suddenly, and wholly expected, the door opened just a crack. Thankfully, I was on the side closest to the doorknob, which meant I wasn't able to see anything inside. But as for the 3 officers who did, including Dex, nobody was sure what quite happened to them. I remember feeling a gust of boiling air seeping out and seeing some kind of deep purple glow emanating from within. At the point, I thought I could see Dex's eyes beginning to leak blood, but that may have just been my imagination. After all, I just blinked a few times from the heat, and a few seconds later, two of the officers were gone and the door was closed, leaving Jensen by himself, kneeling on the ground while covering both of his eyes with his hands. We tried getting him to talk. He never budged. In fact, he wouldn't move an inch from his bizarre position. At that point, I was beginning to panic hard that evidently this was far from a normal situation. Lee was also frustrated, banging on the door and barking out orders as if whatever fucked up entity lurking in the room cared about his grievances. And then he made a drastic mistake. He took his rifle and began breaking the door down with it. He managed to get about halfway through before whatever fate Jensen had just happened to him. I turned around, seeing him also covering his eyes, frozen in a position on the ground. I tried not looking at the purple light flowing out from the holes in the door as I made eye contact with Axwell. We were both ready just to get the fuck out of there. I took the lead, rushing towards the stairwell, but after about 2 seconds of running, I heard screaming from behind me. Some kind of large, insect-like appendage shrouded in the dark violet smoke had bust through one of the holes, grabbing him by the waist. I reckoned that if I was a single second later, it would have done the same thing to me. Essentially, they fought a Resident Evil 5 monster. I tried shooting at the thing, but my bullet simply bounced the fuck off. It pulled Axwell in shortly after, demolishing the door with him. The door was completely open now, but I was not planning on investigating whatsoever. Just like that, I was the last man standing. I remember bolting down the stairwell through the first floor hallway, only to find the path to the nearest exit just blanketed in the same smoke that was coming from the appendage. There was no way in hell I was going to try to traverse that. I picked up my radio, attempting to contact the floor unit instead. "Where are you guys? What's going on?" A shaky voice answered and said, You better hide." "Hide?" I questioned. "Why don't we get our asses the fuck out of here?" "I'm looking outside the window right now. Something's happening out there." Given all the commotion, my mind had automatically filtered out the noise. I concentrated, hearing suppressed screams and sporadic gunshots emanating from beyond the walls of the school. Oh, come on. I did what I was told, stumbling into a stray classroom and barricading the door behind me. The room I'm in doesn't have any windows, so I can't tell what's going on. I've been checking for news updates on my phone, but nothing. I'm also averse to using my radio for help because I'm afraid it might give my position away. I don't know what the hell was in those hallways, but I can definitely hear something moving around. Not sure how far it is though. I guess I'll just have to wait till somebody comes for me. Now, I'm no professional, but he's royally fucked. That was a horrifying, extremely horrifying story. Imagine you go in as a SWAT officer thinking, you know what, we got a disturbing case of a school shooter. I have personal ties to this because I have a niece who is just, this can happen to anyone, especially someone so innocent. And then just, it turns out this is some type of entity, some type of otherworldly thing that claims your entire team, either due to their own stupidity or just whatever claimed them because, well, you know, you're there to stop a problem, but this is something far beyond your control, something far beyond your comprehension, and you end up becoming the last one left. But the teams that are there to tell you to hide. You do hide, but you try holding out hope that someone will come and help you, only to realize that help isn't coming, and you're delaying the inevitable. Horrifying. Let's try to find another story. Attention shoppers. Please hide at the back of the store immediately. Hearing that should send chills down your spine, throughout your body, giving you goosebumps. That's the title of our story. Attention shoppers, came a male voice over the intercom. Please move to the back of the store immediately. The back of the store, I whispered to Daniel. Don't they mean the front of the store to pay for our stuff? It was 8:50 p.m., 10 minutes before closing time. We'd brought our two kids out on this late night Walmart excursion, hoping that they would burn off some energy. Instead, they just thrown temper tantrums for new Legos and Hot Wheels. It was a bloody disaster. But apparently, the disaster was just the beginning. Please, move to the back of the store, immediately, the voice repeated overhead. This is not a drill. I glanced around, but the other shoppers were just as confused as I was. An old lady looked up at the ceiling, scrunching her face. What the hell? A dark-haired woman asked her boyfriend, pushing a cart full of garden supplies. Didn't you hear? An old man said, leaning over his cart of bottled water and canned food. We're in a tornado watch. One touchdown in Sourville. A tornado? It was definitely storming outside. I seen the black clouds roll in from the east earlier, but it didn't look that bad. Do not stay in the open. I repeat, do not stay in the open. The intercom blared. There was a pause, then an explosion. As everyone began to mobilize, carts rolling, panic voices, feet slapping on the floor. No. This can't be happening. I hurried down the toy aisle, Tucker in my arms, Daniel and Jackson following me. 3 ziggy-zag turns, and then we were in the electrics area. I glanced over at the TV wall and pictured the 4 of us crushed underneath them. Stay away from windows and doors, the voice continued on the loudspeaker, and do not attempt to exit the store. Is it safe here? Daniel shook his head. Big open areas aren't good. I'm going to check in back, see if there's a break room or something. You stay here, okay? I nodded. Arms shaking, I sat down on the ground between 2 shelves of video games. Tucker sucked on the bottle on my arms while Jackson began to giggle. Is the tornado going to hit the store? And everything will fly around really fast? He asked with a big stupid grin on his face. And this is why you teach your children shit. I don't know, I said. A tornado, a real life tornado. The one like you see in the movies, plowing through our town. It was just unfathomable. We were New York natives, transplanted here to Indiana only 6 months ago. I've never seen a tornado watch in my life. I remember as a kid, we actually had a tornado touchdown when I was in 4th grade. And well, safe to say I was traumatized, to say the least. I can barely remember it. That's me as the narrator speaking. Now back to the story. Daniel jogged back into view. Everything's locked up, he said, as he joined me on the floor. But listen, Fairview's a big town. The chances that it'll hit this Walmart, I think we'll be okay. I never should have brought us here. You didn't know. None of us did. He wrapped his arm around me. They should have warned us, like an emergency alert on our phones or a tornado siren or something. The voice rang out throughout the store. Do not stay in the open. Do not make yourselves visible. That includes security cameras. Please move to a spot that is not visible to any cameras. I frowned. What the hell does that have to do with tornadoes? A feeling of unease in a pit of my stomach when I glanced up and saw several black globes descending from the ceiling, hiding the cameras within. I guess we should listen to them and get out of sight, I whispered. I grabbed Jackson's hand. Daniel picked up Tucker, and we jogged out into the center aisle. The store was an eerie sight. Abandoned shopping carts, askew in the aisle, full of everything from pies to batteries to plants. Footsteps echoed from the store from people unseen as they found their new hiding places. We dodged a shopping cart full of soda, ran through kitchenwares, and then stopped in the Easter decoration aisle. There was a camera in the central corridor, but as long as we stayed in the middle of the Easter aisle, we were invisible. The four of us crouched on the floor, next to some demented-looking Easter bunnies. I'm hungry, Jackson whined. Shh, Mommy. I grabbed a bag of chocolate-colored eggs and ripped it open. Here, candy. Happy? I whispered, thrusting them into his hands. Then I leaned back against the metal shelves, panting. But I didn't have long to rest. A mechanical whine overhead, and then the voice came through the speakers again. Keep away from aisles with food. If you have food with you, leave it and move to a new hiding place. If you have any open wounds, cover them with clothing. What the fuck? This had nothing to do with a tornado. We should make a run for it, Daniel whispered to me, starting. But the tornado... I don't think there's a tornado. Listen. Do you hear any wind? I listened, but all I heard was silence. No howling wind, no shaking ground. No projectiles clanging against the metal roof. Maybe it's still coming. I know what they're saying doesn't make sense, but to go outside, we need to get out of here now. He grabbed Jackson's hand as he held Tucker in his arms. Come on. Daniel, I don't think that's a good idea, I whispered. But the next words from the intercom changed my mind. Assume a fetal position and place your hands on the ground. Close your eyes and do not open them for any reason. We broke into a sprint and ran down the central aisle. Cameras be damned. The front door appeared in front of us, a little black rectangle looming in the distance. And as we got closer, I saw Daniel was right. There was a tree at the border of the parking lot under a street lamp. It was perfectly still. We continued running past the clothing area, past the snacks, lined up at the checkout aisles. I ran towards the sliding glass as far as my legs could carry me. Almost there, almost there. The doors didn't open. No, 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 I said. Daniel slammed his body against the door. It rattled underneath him. I tried to squeeze my fingers into the gap between them to try and pull them apart. They didn't budge. They locked us in, I whispered. I want to go home. Jackson said. Tucker was beginning to make a fuss too, making little noises like he was about to full on start wailing. I turned around, and that's when I saw him. A Walmart employee. He was sitting at the ground of one of the checkout aisles, facing away from us, wearing the familiar blue vest with a golden starburst. Hey, let us out. He didn't reply. Did you hear me? I don't care if there's a fucking tornado. Unlock the door and let us out. Again. Nothing. But in the silence I could hear a wet, smacking sound. I stared at the man slightly hunched over, still facing away from me. Was he eating something? The speaker overhead crackled to life. My blood ran cold. Attention! Do not talk to any of the Walmart employees. My blood My body, everything began to just explode and shake. The smacking sound stopped. Slowly the man began to stand. He placed his hands on the conveyor belt and pushed up, and I saw that they were stained in blood. I backed away, but my legs felt like they were moving through a vat of honey. No, 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 no. Fingers locked around my arm and yanked. "Come on," Daniel shouted. I sprinted after him deeper into the store. Tucker stared at me over in his shoulder, and Jackson ran as his little feet could carry him. I was vaguely aware of the slap, slap, slap sound behind me, but I didn't dare to look back. Daniel ran into the clothing area and I swayed, dodging circular racks of t-shirts and wooden displays of baby clothes. He skidded to a stop and ducked into the dressing room area. "In here," he whispered, motioning at one of the rooms. We piled inside and locked the door. Everyone was horrified. And then, "Daddy," Jackson started. "You listen to me very carefully," I said, crouching to his level. "You have to be absolutely silent. Do not say a word, okay?" Jackson looked at me, then Daniel, then he nodded and sat down on the floor. "I'm going to try to call 911, Daniel whispered, transferring Tucker to me and pulling out his phone. He tapped at the screen and frowned. "We don't have any service. I don't..." Thump. I grabbed Jackson and pulled him away from the door. The four of us huddled in a corner. I held my breath. Thump. Under the gap of the dressing room's door, men's feet in black shoes. They slowly took a step forward, deeper into the dressing room. "Don't move," I whispered, holding Jackson. The man took another step. Thump. "Don't make a sound. Don't move. Don't..." Tucker let out a soft cry. The man stopped. His feet turned, pointing towards us. "No, no, 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 no." Tucker let out another cry, louder this time. My nails dug into Daniel's hand. No. A hand appeared, slowly pressed against the floor, stained with blood, and then his knees appeared as if he was lowering himself down to the gap. Could he fit under? No. The gap wasn't small. It was like the stall door to a bathroom. If he flattened himself against the door, against the floor really, there's a chance he could fit under. I watched in horror as his stomach came into view. His blue Walmart vest, as he lowered his body to the floor. Then he pushed his arm under the gap and blindly swept it against the floor, as if feeling for us. This is it. We're going to die. And then he lowered his head. His face. Oh God. There was something horribly wrong with his face. He smiled at us with a smile that was impossibly wild, showing off blood-stained teeth. His skin was so pale and nearly blue. His eyes were milky white without pupils or irises. I opened my mouth to scream. "Attention shoppers." The voice began overhead. "No, no, 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 no. Please, make your way to the front of the store and make your final purchases. We will be closing in 10 minutes. And then I yelled, "What?" But before I could react, something unseen jerked the man out of view. A strange dragging sound followed, as if someone was dragging his body out of the dressing room. I stared at the door, shaking as Tucker's cries rang in my ears. I'd be completely honest, before reading the rest of this, I would have made that kid shut the fuck up. Not through violent or physical means, but just... Jesus. I know that children are very scared and adamant within those times, but you have to make it absolutely apparent and adamant to them that, hey, something bad is about to occur and I really need you to listen to everything that I say, because if not, something bad Something more monstrous than what we can comprehend will occur. But back to the story. But he didn't come back. And within 10 minutes, the usual hubbub of Walmart returned. Voices, footsteps, shopping cart wheels rolling along the floor. Shaking, I finally got up and unlocked the door. The store looked completely normal. People were lined up at the cash registers, placing their goods on the conveyor belts. Employees scanning, doing the whole typical shebang. As we slowly walked towards the exit, I spotted the older man who warned us about the tornado earlier. What was that? I asked, unable to keep my voice from shaking. He shrugged. I guess the tornado missed us. What a miracle. Giving us a smile, he disappeared out the glass and ran into the night. I'm pretty sure, if you ask me, this story was definitely sponsored by Target. Horrifying. Genuinely horrifying. Hooey. That is horrifying. Well. I would try to do one more story, but unfortunately that's all that my software for the moment can handle. Like I said, my PC had overclocked, so unfortunately I can't really edit or do anything, and you gotta make do with what you got. And in the meantime, fiends, this is your host, Grimmfiend, or Jay. Please, try to take it easy on yourselves, sleep decent, and enjoy yourself. Have a wonderful night, day, or whatever it is to you.